Pregame.com.
Dolphins +7 at Jets. Monday Night Football. All right, Marco, let's talk motivation. Because to me, whenever you're dealing with a touchdown favorite or more, the first question is how much do they care? And that's where I think that in another game this week that I'd be inclined to take the dog. I'm going to lean favor. Let me ask you the question, though. If you had to characterize the Jets' motivation 1 to 100, what's the number?
Well, obviously, motivation-wise, it's going to be at max because they need to win. The division's going to slip away from them, and wild card, they're underperforming immensely right now. So
what percentage of the time is a touchdown favorite or more do you think at max motivation?
Well, again, to me, you can't just do a blanket number. You got to look at who was the game they just came off of. What's the game
but what I'm
coming up?
saying is if you look at if we went back into the database and said, show me all NFL favorites 7 or more, and you went back in time and examined their motivation, I think we would agree that significantly less than half of those teams would be at max motivation. You got the Packers and the Rams, lines 14.5. Are the Packers at max motivation in that game?
No, absolutely not.
So we have a situation. I think what people don't always understand is oftentimes taking that plus dog that's over a touchdown is often more about the other team being flat than it is about loving the crappy team getting the points.
It is, but to give you a 15-second handicapping lesson where I say that you got to look at situations, here's the thing. Let's just say hypothetically, if the Jets would have won last week against New England, they wouldn't have been motivated this week, obviously, because they would have had such a big game last week. You've got a Monday night game. That makes motivation more because you're playing at home on a Monday night game. This is a team that hasn't seen their home field in a month. They've been on the road 3 straight weeks in a row.
You're making all my points. I'm saying that the Jets are max motivated, and that's not. And you're giving me the reasons for it, and I agree with every one of them. But my point is that it's less than half the time that such a big favorite is max motivated.
Okay.
All right. So one, I think you've got to consider that, and I'm not so quick to take the dog here. That's my main point. What's one of your main points?
Well, the one thing that you got to look at it with Miami is they're coming off a bye week, which for them, the bye week couldn't have come at a better point. They've got to go with a backup quarterback this week because Chad Henne got hurt in their last game. He's done for the season with a shoulder injury. So having the extra week to prepare was actually a blessing to get Matt Moore to as close as prepared as you could possibly be, rather than having just 1 week to prepare. So that's one advantage that Miami has going for them. The second one is, and this is one of those blanket statements, but generally speaking, it has been a good winning proposition. And I don't have the total stat number in front of me, but this was something that was discussed yesterday at the Tuesday meeting, and I don't have my notes in front of me. Teams coming off of a bye week that are 0-4 are a good play. You play on just because of that.
No, I would agree with that because I like the concept there, which is if a team has the goose egg, the public overreacts. Oh my God, they're in the suck for luck sweepstakes, that kind of stuff. I just look at this line. This line in July, Cantor puts out a July line, like you know, was 6.5. It's 7 right now. So now that move on to a key number is more meaningful than a typical half point. But let's think about this a second. With Matt Moore at quarterback, you're saying that the disappointment, the falling short of expectations that the Jets have done are almost equal to Miami with Matt Moore?
When you look at it that way, I can't argue that one. But if you
look at the Jets, that's always the safest.
Well, that's the safest. But if you look at just the Jets have been a major disappointment.
But what I'm saying, let's talk quarterbacks now. Chris Andrews from Cal Neva, who works really closely with pregame, he said, for example, when we were looking at this, and this is for Monday, so some of the people watching Monday we're going to know. But he said, well, I guess we won't because Denver's on a bye. He says Tebow's only about -1 point with Orton. This is almost the same team, in his opinion, same quality team. I think the difference between Henne and Moore, and it's an interesting stat I'll get for Monday and tweet it out, and you can get my Twitter at RJ in Vegas, is I got to think you're looking at 3.5 points with more.
Ooh, I don't think it's that high, RJ.
Really?
No.
I mean, Henny is as bad. I mean, that's what they do in baseball. They talk about replacement player, as in you can take a guy from the minor leagues, pop him in. How much better in advanced sabermetrics? How much better is that player than a replacement player? Matt Moore is the ultimate replacement player. This guy, no one wants him to start a game, and you're saying that Henny is right there?
I'm saying 3.5 points. That's huge. I mean,
all right. Then let's say that your instincts are right. Let's call it 2.5 points. Well, the difference between the 6.5 and 7 is 0.5 point. So you're telling me if Henny was playing right now, the line would at least be 6.5, right?
You want me to throw an even more wrinkle into that?
But let's dig into this real quick. If Henny's playing, this line's 6.5, right?
Based on what it is now. Yeah, based on now.
Well, yeah. One factor changes.
Yeah.
Henny is in instead of Moore. It at least takes you down to 6.5, right? So now you're telling me in that scenario, the line right now, the Cantor line is the same in Monday night as the Cantor July line was. Are you telling me honestly that the disappointment factor for the Jets is equal to the disappointment factor in Miami?
Well, because the reason I'm saying that it is more with the Jets is because the Jets were projected to be a contender for the Super Bowl.
And who's to say they're not?
Not the way they're playing right now. And if I told you the Jets
they were down 6 against New England on the road with 2 minutes left?
The difference with that is, and this is the caveat to the game. If I said the Jets are underperforming, most people's answer would say it's got to be Sanchez, right? But it's not Sanchez is the big problem. The big problem for the Jets, which has been their strength the last few years, the defense has been getting torched. They've given up 98 points in the last 3 games. That's not Jet football. That's where the trouble is. And to throw the wrinkle in there that you brought up with what the line was at Cantor with the look ahead, this line actually opened this week. Opened at 8, and the Sharps immediately bet it to 7.
Well, and that's true. I'm not saying at 8 that I want to lay those points. I'm saying the line is now 7, which is a key number. And again, to me, this is a lean. Well, here's the thing. Let me give my projection, and then I want to talk about 1 or 2 other things. Official projection here, I like the under. I think what's going to happen is almost like we talked about in the Pittsburgh game against Jacksonville. I think what we're going to have is a motivated Jets team that's going to overperform, cover just slightly probably, and look to run the ball. Because that's the talk. They can't run the ball. I think the defense is going to look to swarm against a backup quarterback. They're going to look to run the ball. Crowd's going to be going crazy. I've got a Jets 21 and Miami 13. So I lean Jets, but I like the under even more. So I just think, to me, it's almost like I get super excited about a favorite if I don't like the dog. Because I'm probably not going to, in fact, I'm almost certainly not going to lay the Jets here. But the fact I'm not taking I think at some point you're going to be able to get 7.5. The fact that I'm not going to take the 7.5 is a sign that there's just something wrong with this dog. And to me, it's not that there's something wrong with the dog as much, though I hate first-time quarterbacks, is I think the Jets are going to be super motivated as a touchdown favorite.
One thing that you haven't talked about in this game is what about the injured player theory?
The injured player theory. Yeah, see, now that's your pat, right? And just to define it real quick, first game after a major injury, the other players come together, rise up. Public says, oh my God, maybe Matt Moore's not so bad. And then you look to fade him the next week. Play him first week, fade him the second week. Question is, there's almost a coup going on with the coach at Miami. And to me, I just wonder if people are looking for lifeboats right now. In a way, that's why I dismiss the bye a little bit. I think there's so much turmoil on the Miami side. I don't think this team, and Reggie Bush, let's be honest, he doesn't strike me as much of a team guy. So you've got kind of like the marquee signing. He's less than 3 yards a carry. I just don't look at this as a team that's really going to come together.
Well, one thing I'll tell you, and that's a good point, because the Miami, obviously, they had like a revolving door the last week for having quarterbacks coming in, to try out. Nobody wanted to sign. They signed Seth Rosenfeld for the backup, and he was like their 4th choice. They had Gerard in there, who's out of a job. They brought Brady Croyle in. He turned them down. I mean, there's something wrong going on in Miami. I agree.
That's a great point. Last thing is Miami. One thing that makes me not as crazy about the Jets, Miami has one of the strongest home-road splits, and it's actually positive for the road and negative for the home. And Tampa Bay is another team that falls into that category. I got tricked last week, and I liked the 49ers. That was my only loss at the Hilton contest.
But you like Tampa.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got tricked against the 49ers and took them on the road.
I got tricked too, so don't feel so bad.
But the fact of the matter is, Miami is 11-4-1 ATS on the road. This is a team that's overperformed on the road in general. And last thing, this actually one more stat, but it makes me lean Jets. I'm going back and forth in this game. Jets have covered 9 of 12 against a team with a losing record. And it kind of, Buddy Ryan, or Buddy. Rex Ryan strikes me as a bully. He's a lot of bravado, wants to punch you in the mouth. Hey, people love that. New Yorkers love that. But the fact of the matter is, I like when you're writing my stats down. The fact of the matter,
actually a stat I'm going to talk about in a minute.
The fact of the matter is, though, I think if they have a chance to win this roll, they're going to roll in this game. And you can say, well, who wouldn't roll? Well, it's all about motivation. Sometimes a team gets up 10, and it's like, hey, we can cruise from here. I don't think they're going to cruise.
The one thing I'm going to bring up on Monday Night Football, the odds makers, we've got to give them a tip of the hat. They've been very good on Monday Night Football so far this year with the lines, is how tight they've been. There's been now 6 Monday Night Football games, because remember the opening week there was 2. So that's 4 possible sides you can bet over-unders and favorite dog. Just blindly teasing, 19 of the 24 sides won either way you teased it.
Nice. So that's always the paradox, is the better the line is, the more value a teaser has. Now the funny thing is they wish they would have moved it a couple points one way towards the favorite, because the favorite's been covering a bunch even though the games have been fairly close. Right. You put that on your Twitter. It got a retweet from me, which is really a thumbs up. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What's your
I
Twitter?
slept with a smile on my face that week. It's Marco in Vegas.
Well, you had the smile because of the Oreo cookie fucking ice cream you ate before. You got.
Oh God! You gonna close this one out?
John, next time you're on when you and John do a video, he can tell that story. All right, guys, that's it for the week. But if you're watching this early, there's a ton of videos. Marco, Vegas Runner, Brian Leonard, and Stephen Nover. Bunch of videos. You can get them all at pregame.tv.